And I know you had comments about that.
Yes, yes. When just going back to the whole practice, one thing, basically all those options present issues for the employer. Okay. Because one of the things about accommodation and medical conditions of the workplace is that you're not discriminating in a way that denies the person the rights and responsibilities of employment overall. And so if the employer was to decline or to say that the employee can't apply, that's not appropriate. You need to let them apply. Denying them an interview, and again, if they've applied and they meet the qualifications, then again, any other employee would have a right to an interview. So those both would lead to other employment actions that would not be good for the employer. And in this particular case, that one of the things is that's the beauty of offering someone temporary work elsewhere is that they can gain skills that then do qualify them for openings as they exist. So there's a three-step process, everyone. One, it's got to be an open position, okay? And this is for long-term accommodation. An open position, the employee is qualified for a lateral or lesser position, and then you address the limitations and whether or not accommodations are needed. And so that's where the interactive process comes in because, again, if you're making a decision that the employee can't do it, and yet the employee is doing the temporary work, whoa, you're no longer in the interactive process and you've got the employment issue on ADA for failing to engage the employee in an interactive process. So you have to go through the steps in this case. And I would actually, I think in a way it could go the interview and then the IPM or have the IPM up front because you already know that the employee
Mhm.
has a medical condition. You already know that the employee has limitations. And so having an IPM to address the concerns about performing the new position before the interview would still be appropriate. Because again, under the ADA and FEHA, there's a failure to engage liability there. And if you engage a
Mhm.
person, you've solved 99% of the problem. Okay. And it's only if it's promotional does the employee have to be the best qualified. By not having an IPM, not allowing the employee to interview would clearly be a violation of our laws that we work with in accommodation. Again, letting the employee interview would be one way to get more perspective about the employee's
Mhm.
qualifications, but then that's where it's incumbent upon the employee to disclose that they need an accommodation. And okay, what kind of accommodation? And then that might need to be evaluated further. And that's where the IPM could come in too. So I see
Mhm.
where either one could be go first, the failure to do either one.
And you know what they did because the interviews were that day, the day that we were
Yeah.
having back and forth exchanges.